Hi guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Thank you guys for checking in. Please like, subscribe, and share, and leave comments whenever you like. Definitely appreciate it. Today we have a very special guest. We have a woman, believe it or not. We've been having guys all the time, so I'm very happy to have Maria Stewart, author, on the show. Has a very interesting story, and I'm very excited to have her on the show. Maria, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's more than a pleasure. We met a while back, if you remember.
hmm
Yeah, a while ago. But I don't know how many years ago, like a couple of years ago. But it's really good to see you again. You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, like I said to people that are watching, Maria's got a very interesting story that I've always felt needed to be told. Um, she has a book called Looking for Closure, which is a Teresa Ferrara story. Teresa Ferrara was Maria's aunt, but you guys were felt a lot more closer than aunt and niece, correct? You guys were really tight.
Yes, we were like sisters. She was like my older sister.
Yes, and the Maria Stewart, her interesting storyline is that her aunt Teresa, um, when I think Maria was around 18, 19 years old, disappeared. She went to go meet somebody in a diner and in Long Island, I think in Belmore, if I'm correct, where the salon, she used to have a salon. And she told Maria that she'd be back in 15 minutes and to go look for her if she doesn't return, which is exactly what happened. And she never came back. So, and if I'm correct, Teresa had sort of a really crazy relationship with guys from Jimmy Burke's crew, which is very made famous, the Lufthansa heist and Goodfellas and stuff like that. So I'm going to let Maria give us a little more of a more information than me just telling the whole story. So I'd like Maria to give us a little more, fill us in a little more, because on a more personal view.
Yes, she owned a salon in Belmore called Apple Haircutters, and I worked there, and we were close. And she got a phone call at the end of a Saturday night on February 10th, and somebody on the other end said to come next door to the diner for if you want to make an easy $10,000. So she left her bag, her coat with me, and said if I'm not back in 10 minutes to come get me. And I went there, and I never saw her again after that. And then later on, I found out she was involved with the guys who were involved with the Lufthansa heist. And she had a boyfriend I guess one of the guys was her boyfriend. And 3 months later, a torso showed up, and the FBI said that it was her. But we didn't think for many years that it was her, because on the day that we were going to have a funeral for this torso, I received a phone call from somebody that said that it wasn't my aunt that we were burying, and that she was still alive. So for months, years, I thought, she might have been in witness protection. And then I had a friend and a lieutenant in homicide who got us into police files, and had connections with the FBI, and saw that she was informing the police and the FBI, and he thought that she was killed because of it. And then we, exhumed the remains, and found out years later that supposedly that it wasn't her. So that it was her. They said it was her, but people who read my book think that it was a cover up from the FBI or the police, because it's a long story. Leslie Lukash, the world renowned medical examiner, was the medical examiner when the torso was found, and he felt that there wasn't enough, proof that it was her, because, in those days they didn't do DNA. So that's pretty much what the story is about.
Right, and that happened around 1979, if I'm correct.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, you're right. 79 didn't have didn't have the technology they have now, obviously, or in the past 30 years.
Right. And she was in like over 13 news articles pertaining to her involvement. And like I said, for many years, I thought she was in witness protection. And I myself feared for my life because they said she was killed. And I thought whoever was after her, who came after her, was going to come after me. But
But
I obviously didn't know anything about anything that was going on. I was just a kid at the time.
right. But the
Mhm.
probably the reason being is because you were the last person to see her. So you had, obviously the suspicion was there. Since you were the last person to see her, they didn't know what she might have disclosed to you. Who knows? Nobody would know.
Right.
But
Exactly.
yeah, she could have said, "Oh, Maria, I'm gonna go try to make 10 grand on a drug deal." You don't know, but people don't know
Yeah.
what she might have told you. Um, I mean, from what I understand, Teresa did do some shady stuff. She was pretty deeply involved with guys in that crew like Tommy D. Um, Tommy DeSimone that was made famous with Joe Pesci's role when he played in Goodfellas. Um, did you yourself, you were 18 at the time, 18, 19. Um, you didn't, did you ever meet any of these guys? Did these guys ever come
Um,
to the
I
salon?
mean, I used to go to clubs with her all the time. I was introduced to a lot of people, but I don't remember any names. There was no reason for me to even like remember anybody. I was a kid. I went out dancing with her for fun. And, she introduced me to a lot of people. I might have met them. I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah, okay. At that age, you're not going to know. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I understand. And I mean, and since that time, I know you've been doing a lot of research. You've been trying to dig into the truth of this whole situation. And
Hmm.
for many, many years, we all know that. People would say, "Oh, wow, it's been so long. Why even bother?" But you actually were very adamant to find out what happened. And
Right. And I
uh,
actually did Freedom of Information Act on the FBI to find out their information because I got into police files, but not really FBI. And they were all over this,
hmm,
the whole involvement. And they sent me letters upon letters saying that they had no information on the Teresa Ferrara or the Lufthansa heist. So they denied any kind of information that I was entitled to.
wow. Actually, as we're speaking, can you put the phone a little bit more? Because I'm getting there. Now I can see you. Perfect. Leave it just like that. You're excellent. That's good. That's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Um, well, that's interesting. Now, in the Freedom of Information Act, like you mentioned, you're supposed to be able to get whatever you need. So I don't understand why they were denying you
I
information.
don't either.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's not even legal.
I
I mean,
know.
that's insane. So, I mean, are you and going back, since you were so adamant about finding these things out, you did come out with a book called Looking for Closure, the Teresa Ferrara story. And you were also, from what I understand, were also looking to do a work on a film on based on the book,
Right. I do have a screenplay about it.
right? And where are you with that right now? Are you
I can't find anybody to sell my story to. I tried sending it out to various people, but you really have to have a connection to do it.
yes and no? Yes and no. The reason why I'm saying that because my first
Well,
book,
I myself can't pay for it, so you really need somebody who has, who would invest in the story, which I don't know anybody, or the film.
yeah, well, that's the way it is. I mean, the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm shopping my film. I already have a production company I'm working with, and my film is based on my first book, sort of like you. And
Hmm.
I'm doing similar. I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking for investors, but there's certain things you need to get to that point, to get to the end,
Hmm.
which doesn't cost you nothing. You and I could talk about it separately, and I don't mind helping.
Right.
I don't
I
mind helping.
mean, I'm protected and everything. I went through a lawyer. I have copyrights and all kinds of things to protect me, but I really haven't found, the right person. And to tell you the truth, I don't like all like the mob movies that they show that put like that glorifies these gangsters. I feel like, you know, my aunt was one of the ones that, you know, I mean, they really did a number on her. I mean, they literally cut her into pieces. And I think somebody should do a movie on what it does to the families and what the families go through. That had people involved in that, you know, it's, you know, and nobody's really done that or anything having to do with a woman's point of view either. You know, they just glorify what these gangsters do, and they, you know, what they are and everything. And it's a shame that all these families, because there was a lot of people that were killed in, you know, in regards to this whole Lufthansa thing. And they, you know, I feel like they didn't do anything, you know, to maybe help the families or, you know, gave them any kind of justice. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I agree with you to some degree. You gotta remember, a lot of those people that were killed were wise guys themselves. So
Hmm.
they were in the life, this is what is expected. You know,
Right.
if it wasn't for them, they would have done it to the other guy. So that's the way that world works. But
Right.
when it
I'm
comes,
just talking about like families, like, you know, like her, because she knew too much or whatever, you know,
yeah,
they, you know, killed her. I mean, there's a way of killing somebody, but there's a way also of like, you know, they really went too far in how they did it, I feel,
I
you know.
100% agree. I
Hmm.
think it was they, like you said earlier. I think they were in fear that she was informant. She became an informant. They really had no proof, but they suspected that she
Yeah.
was. So, but they had no solid proof that she was or wasn't. But I guess you know, to save their own ass or to protect themselves in some way, they figured, well, let's just do it, you know, whatever. Whether she is or isn't, you know, we got nothing to lose. So maybe that's
Right.
the way they looked at it. Um, what is interesting to me is the fact what you just said earlier, the fact that the torso, like you said, that they found in I think it was in New Jersey, at some beach,
Correct.
New Jersey, um, that there's no I mean, if I'm correct from what you said earlier, to this day, you're not really sure whether it was her or not.
Well, supposedly the person who did DNA testing could get DNA out of Iraq. And the first two DNA tests came back that it didn't match her. And the third and the final one, they supposedly said matched perfectly to my mother's DNA, but I don't know. Whoever reads my book thinks that it was a whole police and FBI cover up. I mean, look what the FBI is doing now, you
Yeah,
know, in the world. I mean,
no, I agree with you. I mean, they could be protecting somebody else, or they don't want to open a can of worms. It could be any
yeah.
one of those things.
And plus those guys were paying people off also. They were
Well,
paying the FBI off. They were paying police off.
yeah, back then, yeah, around that time period,
Hmm.
that's when the mob was at their height. So
Right.
they had a lot of power back then. So you could be 100% correct. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt
Yeah.
it. Now, outside of with the book itself, outside of working to get into to, I mean, how has the popularity of the book? How has it been? Are you happy with the feedback you got from it? Is it book still available as well? Do
Oh
people?
yeah. Yeah. The book's still available. I'm still selling books.
Oh, that's great.
Um, yeah. You know, on both, you can get it on your iPad, you know, that way also. But I mean, you know, I guess if I got on a talk show or somebody, you know, national TV, I would sell a lot more. But it is holding its own. People, you know, email me and, you know, they talk to me about, you know, ask me questions about it. And if you look online, if you Google Goodfellas, I think my book comes up along with it. So
Oh, it does.
people are still reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely does. Which I guess may be a good thing because then it gets people curious. Oh, what's this? You know, because
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know too much about your story about Teresa Ferrara. I don't think
Hmm.
a lot of people know too much. Like you said, women are not the most important thing in the
Right.
mob world per se. Um, so it's like articles came out about her way back then. you know.
Yeah, I still have all the news articles. And whoever reads it to this day says, oh my God, why don't you do something with it? It sounds like a movie. It would make a really good movie. I'm like, I'm trying. It's who you know, you know?
Well, it's who you know. It's a lot of things. I mean, um, these are things that I can even like, you know, if we talk on another time, I could definitely give you some suggestions because I was in the same boat you were. Like, what do I do
Yeah.
with it? Where do I go
Yeah.
from here? You know, so it's knowing certain ways of getting around the whole entire the entertainment business, especially the film business, freaking insane. It's
Oh
very
yeah. I've met one idiot after another that claims they're going to do this and that, and nothing came into fruition, you know?
yeah, like you just said. I spoke to one idiot. It really depends.
Exactly.
It depends who you're talking to. You know,
Yeah.
um, I'm lucky enough that I'm working with one of the actors from The Sopranos, who is a partner with another woman in the production company, and they know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I'm in good hands at this point. So it all depends who you know and how you get it.
Yeah. Like I said, I have the book and I do have a screenplay. I mean, if somebody's interested in the story, will they follow my screenplay? Who knows? You know, I'm sure who's ever interested in that would, you know, buy the story would probably do their own, you know, niche on it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that does happen. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. It does happen. My screenplay is adapted from my book, but the last draft that we did is not the same. It's a lot of things we changed, a lot of things in it.
Hmm. Well,
And
that's what I mean. People, you know, whoever isn't becomes interested in, hopefully will do, you know, I'm sure they'll pick and choose what they want to do with it. You know, they might glorify the relationship she had with those guys or do a family thing. Who knows, you know? I just like I would like them though to whoever does is interested would do something, you know, just like I just feel bad for the families, not only what I went through with my family, and no one's really done anything about how it affects the families and what they went through too.
yeah, yeah,
Because, you know,
that's interesting.
me especially, I went through a lot at 18 years old, going through, you know, something so horrific like this, you know.
Well, that's a good question. That's something I was is interesting to think about. I got at that age when this thing happened. I know it's probably very difficult to remember how you might have felt. I mean, how did that? I'm sure that was very must have affected you a lot. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I
wow,
think I have a lot of anxiety issues because of it to this day, you know.
yeah, psychologically, I'm sure that probably like,
Hmm.
especially at that young age,
Yeah.
how do you function? Like, how do you deal with the fact that somebody who you felt like was a sister, you're not going to see anymore, and you're
No.
how happened? Um, I mean, people would ask, what about your mom? What about the other family, her family, like the rest of the family? I mean, are you the only one that really put this into play? Was it
Yeah, I
ever
did. I
out?
wanted to know the truth, you know. And I actually paid for, you know, the first major DNA test. And because it was negative to my mother, the police, you know, the investigators that were on it, like literally they exhumed the body from you know, our family grave, and they did the remaining DNA tests on that. They did it themselves, but I got the ball rolling. And my family was very supportive. They said, do whatever you know, do whatever you want, you know, at this point. They were nervous in the beginning though, when I was 18, because they were worried that whoever came after her would come after me. But years later, I mean, they pretty much all died in jail, the whole bunch of them. So,
Yeah,
you know, there's really nobody now that's going to do anything, you
right.
know.
That's true. Well, not now anymore. I mean, the past 30 years, nobody's gonna do nothing anyway.
Mhm.
The whole crew is gone. You know, so it's, you gotta worry about them coming after you. I
I
got
know I would still like to get involved with the FBI and find out what the investigation was all about, but they deny any information on her or the Lufthansa heist. I mean, they were all over that. It was the FBI who told my family that it was her that they found.
well, like I said, that has the markings of a cover up. They're covering
Yeah, exactly.
up. They're either covering somebody up or they're covering something up, or they are protecting someone. It's one or the
Yeah,
other.
maybe themselves.
Yeah, maybe themselves. It could be one or the other.
Hmm.
Just like the Whitey Bulger case in Boston, similar situation. They was covering for themselves, but eventually it came out. But how many people died in the process before it even came out? So it's a very fine line sometimes between these two, the FBI and the mob. It's really bizarre, but
Right. Yeah.
it's a very fine line. Um, but like I said, like you said earlier, I don't want to keep you. I know you're gonna be babysitting in a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
Cute. They have the little cute dog over there. I love dogs. Um, yeah. But before we go, if people want to check out your book, find it, buy it, where outside of Amazon, is anywhere else they can, look for the
Yeah.
book?
Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. I don't even know that it's a whole bunch of them.
Right. All right. So
You
basically,
can just Google and they'll show you where to get it. It's all, it's all over.
oh, okay. Awesome. Well, listen, Marie, I'm very happy to have you come on. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to another episode of Mob Tales. Please share, like, subscribe, most of all, leave any comments. We definitely appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See you next week.